Hey YouTube, what's going on? Son of Sanguinius here, and today we're going to be continuing our Blood Angels Tactics videos by taking a look at the Death Company Dreadnought. So the Death Company Dreadnought comes in at 125 points. He is Weapon Skill 4, Ballista Skill 4, Strength 4, Front Armor 12, Side Armor 12, Rear Armor 10, Initiative 4, 5 attacks base now with the new Blood Angels FAQ with 3 hull points. So for war gear, he has a Power Fist with a built-in Melt-A-Gun, a Power Fist with a built-in Storm Bolter, a Searchlight, and Smoke Launchers. As for special rules, he has Fury's Charge, Range, and None Can Stand My Wrath. Death Company Dreadnoughts ignore the effects of Crew Shaken and Crew Stun results, but they still lose a hull point on the vehicle damage table. So for options, he may replace both of his Power Fists with a pair of Blood Talons, retaining their built-in weapons for 10 points. He may choose one of the following. Replace Storm Bolter with a Heavy Flamer for 10 points, or replace his Melt-A-Gun with a Heavy Flamer for free. He can also replace his Smoke Launchers with a Magna Grapple for free, and he may select a Drop Pod as a dedicated transport. So, the Death Company Dreadnought. In my opinion, it is the close combat dreadnought of all of the, Space Marine armies out there, and he is probably the go-to close combat dreadnought for Blood Angels as I see it. So there is some debate as to whether or not you should go with the Furioso or the Death Company Dreadnought. It's true that the Furioso does have a better weapon skill at weapon skill 5. However, the Death Company Dreadnought has more attacks. If you do all the math, 5 attacks at base, plus 2 with rage, plus 1 for having 2 close combat weapons. That's 8 attacks on the charge, strength 10, AP2 with shred if you take the Blood Talons. Speaking of Blood Talons, honestly, from my perspective, the Blood Talons and the Magna Grapple are a must. And I say that because the Blood Talons essentially make your hits more reliable. For 10 points, you're getting Shred. Why not? Nothing's better than having, reliable Strength 10 AP2 attacks. 8 of them, no less. And the Magna Grapple lets him reroll his failed charges against vehicles, which is nice because you're going to be able to chew through infantry and vehicles with the Blood Talons, and it also gives him move through cover. So those two things combined, I think, are really worth it, especially considering that, at least for me, I tend to forget about Smoke Launchers anyway. They're sort of a non-issue thing. And honestly, you're probably not going to want to just sit back and let him get shot at. You're probably going to be charging him, and I'd rather make my charges more reliable than, sit there with smoke launchers. So that all being said, one of the most difficult things is how to get your Dreadnought, actually into close combat if you get him out that way. And for Death Company Dreadnoughts, I find that a drop pod really gets him to where he needs to be the most effectively. There are some other options. You could put him in a Storm Raven with, your Death Company or your Terminators or whatever, and just use him as support. That's also an option. I just find that, for me personally, I like to get him there as quick as possible and just sort of be a big, scary, looming thing. It's like, oh, hey, here's, Death Company Dreadnought in your face, turn 1. Deal with it right now. As your red tide of Marines sort of pushes up the table, everything moving 12 inches all in one turn. That's kind of how I like to use the Death Company Dreadnought. Honestly, he's good against mobs. He's good against monstrous creatures, or he's also good, fairly decent against vehicles. You figure, since the new FAQ came out, increasing his attacks to 5 at base, that can do some damage in close combat. I really can't think of too many things that you wouldn't want to throw him up against, with the exception of, maybe some super heavies or, some gargantuan monstrous creatures or, any of the ludicrous stuff that's, out there on the tabletop. But for most general games, the Death Company Dreadnought can, be pretty much used against anything. Your opponent has, a nice, squad of Chosen with power weapons, with his Chaos Lord, with, all the, all the Chaos boons or whatever. Throw a Death Company Dreadnought at him. He'll, be able to chew through them. He is a Dreadnought, and he will be vulnerable to, you know, some anti-vehicle fire, but with that None Can Stay My Wrath special rule, he can basically, you know, ignore the crew shaken and crew stun results. So, aside from, you know, losing 3 hull points, he's you know, fairly resilient. But again, I would not run him up the table. I would instead put him in a drop pod. Would be my first pick, or throw him in a Storm Raven with some other unit that can support him. So anyway, feel free to leave your comments down below. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.